All right, everybody ready?
Yeah.
Get your phones off. Okay. All right, can everybody hear me? Michael? Really close. Okay, this is a City of Avondale Estates, Georgia. This is Board of Mayor Commissioners, regular meeting. It is May 27th, 2026. It's now 5:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have an agenda before us. Do I have a motion to adopt? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so I'd like to start off commissioner comments this evening. I did not receive a postcard, but I understand a lot of people in the city received postcards asking them to go look at this website, Avondale FYI. And I was a little hesitant to bring this up, but this does bother me because I think it goes against a lot of what we're about. The website claims to be, raising important questions and, talking about things and writing these articles about the city and the way we conduct business and certain deals that have happened. And it's claiming to be, about public discourse and information and transparency and all this stuff. But I'd like to point out a few things. I think a lot of what's on there is wrong and false. I'll give you one example. They did a two-part thing on the Department of Juvenile Justice building, which happened 6 years ago. But the short version is this. They want to give you this version that basically like the city lost all this money and made all these bad decisions. But the reality is this, we created a DDA. We financed the construction of this building. We didn't pay a dime for it. The state did. They covered the bond payments with their rent payments. But basically, the DDA at risk invested $0, and about 22 years later got 11 million net out of it. Somehow that was a bad deal. I mean, I want some Einstein to explain to me how that was a bad deal. But the city got, the DDA got about as much as they could from the building. We got $550,000 in payment in lieu of taxes. The DDA got a fee. We even got some extra rent out of it, but we invested $0 and we got 11 million. But they want to make you think that we lost a ton of money somehow, which is absolutely inaccurate. So I don't think they have their facts straight. I don't even think they're trying. But then what bothered me about the whole thing, because anybody can write whatever they want, it's First Amendment right. But people got on there and started making nasty comments, calling board members sycophants, calling Patrick a dictator, saying that we were doing all these things behind closed doors and we just do whatever the city manager says. And the moderator of the site, who is anonymous, by the way, didn't do one thing to say, hey, if this is truly about, information and discourse, they didn't do one thing to correct that and say, hey, tone that down. We get that, because you would think a good moderator would do that, but they didn't. They actually liked the comments saying that this website is the manager's worst nightmare. They liked the comment. The moderator liked the comment. So, to me, I think the other thing was that, let's see, about how we're just listening to the manager doing whatever. It's like, you got this backwards. We talk about things formally, informally, loosely, and then we start talking about them more as we get interested in something. We talk about them formally in a meeting. Eventually, we probably vote on it. And say, Mr. Manager, can you figure out how to make this happen? And so strategically, we decide something. We say, hey, can you give us a tactical plan for making this happen? He comes back to us. He's a great manager, so generally he comes back with a good suggestion. And at that point, we're like, all right, that's how we're going to do it. Sounds great. Let's do it. Whoever's writing this thing has it backwards, in my opinion. But the point is, I'm trying to make, and I don't want to give them too much oxygen, but they're going out of their way to write these stories that are just misrepresenting information, that are just skewing facts, allowing nasty comments to happen. It's not about information. It's not about discourse. And it's an anonymous website. We don't know who it is. Okay. This is not journalism. Journalism, they own up to it. They sign their name and say, I wrote this article, I'm proud of this. It's not journalism. This is just a hit job. This is nothing more than someone trying to take us down, being nasty about it. And that's not what we're about. You know, we're about openness. We're about respecting one another. We are about discourse. We are about transparency. And again, I probably shouldn't give them too much oxygen, but it just bothered me. And I just want all of you to be aware of that. If you got any questions about anything on that website, come ask us. We'll tell you. But, you know, I'm going to defend the board. I'm going to defend our manager and staff, and I'm going to defend the DDA. Okay? Because I don't like this kind of nastiness. And I will say something about it. So thank you for letting me get on my soapbox. Sorry to start out with that. Hope everybody's surviving the now arrived humidity, and you're enjoying your summer. Memorial Day weekend was a little soggy, but anyway, hope you all have a great rest of the week, and thank you for listening. All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just gonna briefly echo the mayor's sentiments there. I didn't get a postcard either, but I have seen this website. And, you know, it is misinformation at best, and trying to intentionally mislead people at worst. You know, we're a small town, and I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that that kind of stuff does affect me. You know, I don't know about the other commissioners, but I can imagine it affects them as well. And, you know, it makes us, at least it makes me feel like, you know, people suspect me of having ill intentions for being here. And, you know, the only, you know, volunteering and signing up to run for this seat, you know, the only intention I have is to try to make Avondale the best it can be. I cannot make up for the past. I cannot change anything in the past. All I can do is what I do right here every meeting, and how I conduct myself while I'm in this chair. So, you know, so I want to thank you, Mayor, for bringing it up. I think it needs to have attention called to it, so people can know that we do see it. And, you know, and I'll just echo his sentiment too. If anybody's got any questions, please ask me. I'll try to answer it. If I can't answer it, I'll try to find somebody that can answer it. So that being said, then I just have two quick thank yous. I want to thank the Avon Garden Club and the Avondale Estates Garden Club for the Memorial Day wreath laying out front at the Blue Star Highway marker. It was a really nice ceremony that we had Friday morning, so I want to thank them for doing that. And then just thanks to the city staff and Ellen especially for the weekend wind down we had last week. The weather was a little iffy, but it was still a fun night and a really, really great band and a fun time. So you guys for that.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah, just to echo a Memorial Day, thank you to all who gave their lives for this country, paid the ultimate sacrifice. There's just nothing more important or needs more remembrance than that. So hope everybody had a great Memorial Day. I think I won't speak too much because you guys so eloquently talked about it, but I think what is frustrating is that, you know, we here in the board are residents of this city, and it's not like we're from this far away land and we don't want what's best for this place. And I think if you look around this city, you can see the results and the excellent job that our city staff do. Thank you for all you do. There's this recurrent theme about like lack of transparency, which I think comes mostly from people that aren't involved in this process. If it's as transparent as can be. It's just you have to be involved and come to these meetings, and you will learn everything that you need to know about what's going on. And there's a wealth of information on the website, the city website as well. I just think everybody, you know, things are happening and they have to happen, you know, at a quick pace because things are always changing, and people that aren't paying attention, they find the decision has already been made, but with much prior deliberation. It's just they weren't involved in all the kind of the sausage being made prior to that. So just I think it's important for everybody to know. It's like you can find out everything you want to know about what's going on with the city. You just have to, be there, be present, and look at, what we're doing, because it is all out there, out for all to see. So, but thanks for everybody who showed up today. We appreciate y'all.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner.
So along those lines,
What do I do?
I am going to, the first thing I do later tonight, when I turn my phone back on, is I'm going to finish doing the Avondale Estates Comprehensive and Downtown Master Plan Questionnaire, which I have been remiss. It's been a few weeks that it's been out there. It's in all of our email boxes, in the newsletters, on the website. Right here, there's a QR code right there. There are many places that the city has communicated to residents and made it easy to begin the process. So the questionnaire is the easiest one because you can sit on your toilet and do it if you want. But other ways to do it are attending some of the events like the next weekend wind down and this last week at the Shakespeare thing and some other events that are upcoming. I'm sure Patrick will tell us about those events. So this is the opportunity to bring up some good ideas. And I'll say one last thing. This is fun. These are actually, kind of stimulating and engaging and fun. That's my favorite one, which is the big plan, where you can show where you'd like to see things or where you see issues. The one with the hearts is where you can literally write strengths and challenges. So do it. It literally, you're here. It is an interesting opportunity. It's an interesting time. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how all those dots turn into action statements.
Commissioner Stetton?
I would like to thank you all for coming to my birthday party tonight. Just kidding. See how dedicated I am? Yeah, celebrate. Anyway, thank you all for coming tonight. I do have I do feel like, personal comments aside, I think that as commissioners, we have to have thick skins because people don't always see eye to eye. People have different perspectives. And, we need to, I think address those issues when they come across. I think everybody has a right to have an opinion on how they see things or whatever. But I think during the election, I had a lot of false rumors right about me. But, I dealt with it because I didn't have any choice. And, everybody up here campaigned against me, but I'm working well with them because you put that behind you and you work positively towards a better future. So I just hope we can all do that and try to listen to each other and consider other perspectives and work together.
Okay. All right. Mr. Manager?
Yes, I have news on events per Commissioner Suazo. However, one of those was the survey that you spoke about. Regardless, this Saturday, Reformology Pilates kicks off its first anniversary with Pilates on the Green at 9 a.m. After finding your balance on the green, the festivities transition to the studio for a celebration of Reformology Studio at 3:30 p.m. Also, please do not miss the last weekend wind down concert of the spring season, Sunday, June 7th, featuring Blue Talk, funk for the whole darn family. This funk neo soul groove band is sure to get you moving, whether you're 8 or 80. Beverage and food will be available for purchase from Stroud Eats. That's a Cajun truck. Hoppa Kitchen, Hawaiian comfort food, and Banjo Coffee starting at 6 p.m. Music runs from 7 to 9 p.m. And after a break during the summer, the concerts will return this September. You can also ride, scoot, roll, or strut in the 4th of July parade. It's time to register to participate or volunteer in this annual Avondale tradition. Links are available online and in the weekly e-news, or you can also scan the QR code that are located on signs at City Hall. And as Louis mentioned, there is still time to provide feedback on the comprehensive plan and the downtown master plan. check out one of the many ways to share your thoughts on the future of the city. You can take that 10-minute survey, which is open through June 14th. You can also give your input in person at a pop-up event, including pop-up events to be held on Sunday, June 7th at the Last Weekend Wind Down Spring Concert, on Sunday, June 14th at the Avondale Estates Farmers Market from 10 to 1 p.m. And you can also come to City Hall through June 14th, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. when the courtroom is available. Please call 404-294-5400 in advance to ensure access to the materials. And also, I want to go ahead and extend our deep appreciation for those who have already provided their input and feedback. It's been very helpful, and we are very proud of the way this community responds when we have calls to action. So really appreciate that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, all good up here? Okay. All right. Public comment. Yes, ma'am.
Very benign.
Okay.
I don't know how to present it, maybe just put it on the desk, it's.
3 minutes, sure.
Yes, I know. Oh, starting now. Okay. My name is Beth Langhorst, 20 Sussex Road. I'm here this afternoon on behalf of the Avondale Lake Keepers, a volunteer group dedicated to collecting fishing tackle, hooks, and fishing line left at Lake Avondale. And the nearly 500 people who signed a petition hoping for support to make the lake a safer place for wildlife, people, and pets. I want to acknowledge this afternoon and thank the members of the BOMC, Lydia Stedman, Louis Suazo, Graham Rainey, for meeting us at the lake and helping us with advice. Michael Smith, we apologize for not inviting you. Time got away from us, and our fledgling volunteer group has a lot of folks in it. But we do invite you now, as well as anyone on the BOMC or city staff, to contact us at any time if you're curious about what we're doing at the lake. We thank our mayor and the city manager for the time they've given to this issue, and for the announcement of new signage to educate the people visiting our lake of the city's catch and release policy. We hope that this signage will include the accepted barbless hook and lure that is part of catch and release fishing techniques, and that these barbed treble hook lures would be prohibited. You have before you a small sample of the non-catch and release lures. It's not a complete collection. Bringing it in its entirety would be unsafe. Again, thank you all for your efforts to mitigate the issue of dangerous lures and line being brought to the lake. We look forward to the new signage, which will be so very important with our growing population and with the summer fishing season upon us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beth, and your group, and Robin, and the rest of your group for all you've done for our city in that regard, taking care of our lake and our wildlife. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, Stacy then Bob.
Stacy Garrett, 47 in Clarendon. We're finally get. Survey perspective, but anyway, I just wanted to publicly thank Dave and Shannon and all the folks behind them who put on last week's meeting. Super informative, and I know for a long time to pull it together, but really appreciate the dialogue.
Thank you. Bob?
My name's Bob Tim. I live at 52 Dartmouth Avenue. First of all, I would like to thank everybody, Jonathan, all the commissioners, Patrick, Dave Peters, for all the hard work and actually make it all come to fruition. I think the downtown looks fantastic, so that's great. I do have my issue. is I've lived in Allendale for 43 years. I live across the street from the pool, okay? I think Dartmouth Avenue is becoming a dangerous street. Too many cars, there are more strollers, there are e-bikes, there are bicycles, there are little kids, there are old people, I mean, there's just too much activity there. And I know that we talked about it before, but I do think it's time to address it, okay? And this is the time when the pool is open, school hasn't opened yet and I just hope that you feel it might be an important issue and that it might be put on the agenda in the coming weeks, okay? I come up with a couple of suggestions, some of them are a little bizarre, a little out there, but to solve some of these issues, okay? I know number one, we talked about resident only parking, okay? I think we need to get that going, okay? Number two, I think that we need more signs saying, slow down. Kids that play, we put them in the various spots. Another idea is to put it, which Lisa Shortell brought up, is to put a table bump. Right where Clarendon Avenue meets Clarendon Place. And that's where we would have a sign, slow down, kids can play, so people will slow down there, okay? I think we should eliminate the parties, offering parties at the pool. I mean, at the park. What happens is, number one, the people take possession of the park. They think because they rented it, it's theirs. And what they do is they really sort of take over the park. There was one time somebody brought in a hotel, a blow-up hotel. I'm not kidding, it was bigger than my house. They had a truck, they had to bring it in, they had to blow it up. I mean, it was just, but they have this attitude that it's their park. And it also adds at least 15 cars, if not more, to parking on Dartmouth, and it goes up the street, okay? So I think we should eliminate that. I don't know what the benefit is to Avondale. I know we want to welcome everybody from the rest of the world into our town. But another idea I have is, I think this is, you're not gonna go for this at all, but I do think this, I think this could make sense. If you looked at Clarendon Place and made Dartmouth Avenue going all the way up to Wilshire Drive, one way. If you went from Clarendon Place all the way up to Avenue Road, made that one way. So it would become a V of sorts, but it would stop all, I mean, there's so much traffic. And Dartmouth's a cut through now. People go this way and that way. They don't pay attention to the signs. We only have one sign that says one way. When the pool's open. And I just think it's a disaster waiting to happen. I just hope that it does get put on the agenda. We do come up with an answer. Even the first step, I think, is to put resident only parking signs there. And so I think it's important, and I think should be addressed.
Thanks. Anyone online? Susie?
Susie Beavers to Clarendon Avenue to add on to Bob's talk about traffic and speed and stuff. I love that, I don't know what it's called, but that machine that the city has that sits on the side of the road and tells us, I'm always educated. Every time it's like, oh, really? I'm going, it's this big in my car and I see that and go, wow. Can we just always make sure it's out and running? If I see it correctly and I may be wrong, it looks like it's solar powered, so it's not costing the city any money. If you want to put it in my verge, Clarendon Avenue, and watch it happen, traffic headed north on work days, school days, when they see the green light at South Avondale, I just would love to know how fast people are traveling. But the main thing is spread it out. Kensington Road has that school traffic is fast. My road has it. So just make sure that thing gets rotated all over the city, because you need to know that we're speeding, because a lot of us are. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Seeing no further comments. Bring it back up here. Okay, so thank you all for your comments. All right, first item of business we have before us. The meeting minutes of the May 13th, 2026 regular meeting and the May 13th, 2026 work session. Do I have a motion to engross the minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Do I have a second? Second. That's Grant. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, Stephen, Mr. Manager, are there any kind of special rules we need to talk about for the public hearing? These next two items?
It's not a zoning action.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of whatever reasonable rules you would want to set in advance, or otherwise just let people have.
What do we normally do?
3 minutes per person, I think, at the very most.
15 total, something?
Yeah, in the past we've done, I think. Yeah, was it
He's saying-
15 total? I think
We'll have to
15
do that.
total sounds adequate to me.
Okay, all right,
Don, say something first.
sure.
We haven't shown people this yet, have we? I mean, these flats. I mean, it seems like we're putting the cart before the horse. Having the public hearing before we've talked about it in the work session.
We did, didn't we?
Well, so let me clarify those comments, if you will. So state law requires a prescribed schedule for a preliminary plat submission, which includes a public hearing. However, there are a couple of things I want to bring to your attention right now. What you are hearing comment on and will be discussed later in work session is a submission to subdivide lots. As long as the plat itself, the preliminary plat submission, is aligned with the city's zoning code, and the impacts of the submission do not cause any substantial hardship for the city in terms of infrastructure installation, then there is not a reason to deny the submission, legally speaking, and could potentially place the city in legal jeopardy if it did so. This is private property. The private property owners do have a right to develop on that private property according to the zoning code and any variances that they have been granted. We've already been through the process by which variances have been granted. We have discussed at length the site plans and the intentions of the developer. This is really just kind of a formality or a step in the process. So while we do welcome public comment per state law, the decision for you guys is really one that that requires consideration of those two things that I just mentioned. Is the plat submission allowed by code and or the variances that you've already granted for it? And does the submission create a significant hardship for the city? And when I say significant hardship, I mean that it does not include infrastructure that would provide adequate service to the development that's being built. In this case, that's y'all's decision to make, but that's the criteria by which you should apply for making your initial or your final decision. So with that in mind, the way we have our meeting schedule set up, where we do a regular meeting prior to our work session, and the items on the work session aren't to be considered until the following. We believe, we actually exceed the state requirement here because we have opportunity for public comment through this public hearing. again, we'll have an opportunity for further public comment after the work session, and then have opportunity for even further public comment prior to the next regular meeting. If our meetings were set up in a different form or fashion, perhaps we would have been able to have that work session discussion prior to the public hearing. But the advertising requirements that have been placed upon us by the state don't allow us to do so without calling a special called meeting. And I did not believe that it was to the advantage of anyone to call a special called meeting, which would require not only participation by you guys, but also participation by staff, in addition to what we're already doing tonight. So that's the explanation.
I'm fine with proceeding with the public hearing, both of them. Everybody go?
Yeah.
All right. So item number 6. I'm gonna have to read the whole thing. This is public hearing to receive comment. Consider a preliminary subdivision plat application submitted by 278 Oak Holdings LLC to redevelop 13 acres with multifamily housing and single-family / townhome housing. The subject properties are 136 Laredo Drive, 2968 Perry Street, 147 Oak Street, 143 Oak Street, 2950 Franklin Street, and 2556 Franklin Street, Avondale Estates, Georgia 30002, and our zone CBD/3, which is Central Business District 3, Avila Real Estate and Hedgewood Homes - Oak Street parcel. So, if you didn't hear our attorney, 3 minutes per comment. Tentatively set a 15-minute limit. We're not doing pro versus against or for or whatever. So anybody can speak for or against, doesn't matter.
And
So, sometimes we have to do that where we have to allow people in favor to speak first and speak for people who are opposed, but we're not doing that right now.
And I just want you to know, to inform the public, and I'm saying it right now, is that each public hearing is specific to the preliminary plat on that site.
Right. So, public comment. Anybody online? From corner. Okay. Seeing no public comment, I'd like to close that hearing. All right, item number 7. This is a public hearing to receive comment. Consider a preliminary subdivision plat application submitted by Atmos Project LLC to redevelop 1.91 acres with single-family / townhome housing. The subject properties are 2804 Franklin Street, 2816 Franklin Street, 2820 Franklin Street, and 154 Olive Street, Avondale Estates, Georgia 30002. The subject properties are zone CBD 1, Central Business District 1, Avila Real Estate and Hedgewood Homes, North Maple Street parcel. Same rules. Public comment.
That's a lot of houses, huh? It's all others, growth, right? Either a restaurant.
Yes. Julie.
154 Olive Street is the wrecker service with all the cars, right? So, I'm in favor of less wrecked cars and more pretty buildings. That's all I have.
Thank you. I agree with that. Yes.
So we're,
Hello.
Michael Gargiulo, our family owns the property at 143 Maple Street and 2774 College. We are here today to express our support for the project in part However, seeking clarity to understand the intent of the condemnation that was previously approved by this board on October 22nd, 2025. So our understanding is at that time, the developer may not have had all of the property that they needed to complete their project. And yet the board moved forward with condemnation against our family. So that to us didn't quite make sense. We're here also just kindly and amicably asking that the resolution be rescinded in full and documented in the public record because it's interfering with our ability to do business at that property. As you can imagine, if somebody tries to come take your property and, you know, it's the government, and when somebody wants to come buy that property, they see in the public record that it's just been attempted to be condemned, you know, that makes it difficult. So we're kindly asking that that be rescinded as you go forward through this process. I know the plat has changed a number of times. The other couple of issues that kind of make our pending support for the project is the water runoff. The most recent plan that we've seen allows the setback of the residential properties to be right up against our commercial property. This creates a number of different issues, as you can imagine, you know, also some liabilities as a commercial property with somebody's backyard literally right up against it. And we do have rules for buffers in the city. Stormwater runoff it kind of creates, and there's also, you know, just emergency access. Up until the last design, there was going to be an issue with some of the emergency access where we understood. I don't know if that's been clarified. Our understanding is it hasn't been approved by the fire department yet, so that may also be something to look at. And yeah, right now, as I know many people know here, there's a lot of parking issues in the city. There is parking issues at our property as well. If we put a bunch of these houses in there, there's likely going to be more of these issues with the traffic and parking that goes on in the city. So that's kind of already a nuisance at our property. The condemnation issue is kind of more than an inconvenience to us as well. So if we could just get that rescinded and clarified, we'd certainly be appreciative, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, if I might add, just if we could have that done in 30 days, please, the rescinding of that. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments, I will close the hearing. Okay. Moving on to item number 8. This doesn't really have a title. All right, we have before us a proposal for Lake Avondale Dam and Stormwater Rehabilitation Design Project. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
That was Libby, Lida was second. Any questions, comments up here? Okay.
I'd just like to say I want to see this get going because the dam is critical and the sooner we get going on it, the better.
Great. All right, thank you. Any others? All right, ask for a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. That's 5. All right, thank you. All right. Number 9, that doesn't have the title. Do I need to read the title of the thing I'm going to sign? Not really. Okay. All right, we have before us a document calling for participation in DeKalb County Urban County Community Development Block Grant and Home Program requalification for fiscal year 2027 through 2030. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
That was Graham. Do I have a second? Second. That was Mike. Any questions, comments up here? All right, like to ask for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, very good. All right, one last item. All right, we have before us an intergovernmental agreement for paving of State Road 10/US Road 278 between DeKalb County, Georgia and the city of Avondale Estates, Georgia. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
That was Graham. Do I have a second? That was Lyda. Any questions, comments? Lyda?
Is this money going into the capital projects fund?
So, this money, yes, it will come into the.
That was already spent to,
So, yes, since we haven't introduced this, let me go ahead and.
Okay.
The reason we brought this to the regular meeting rather than a work session is because this is a, kind of the back end of, the work necessary to accept funds from the county. And months ago, the county, for lack of a better term, screwed up the progress of 278, which required us to repave a section of the roadway that we had previously paved. And we asked the county to reimburse us for that cost, given the fact that it would blow our budget for the 278 project. They agreed, but that process for reimbursing us takes them a long time to complete. And they finally were able to complete their end of the IGA. This IGA is very simple in nature. It allows us to be in receipt of these funds. The one caveat to what Commissioner Stedman said was that the funds, of course, come into the general fund as all funds that are sent to us do. And then we will ask you, once we are in receipt, to appropriate those monies back to the capital fund.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. Good. All right, so. Like to ask for a vote, all in favor say aye. Aye. That's 5. Okay. All right, that concludes our business for the regular meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Lina, do I have a second?
Second.
That was Louis, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
See some new faces out there. We have a kind of new thing. We'll take a break between our regular meeting and our work session, 10-minute break. It is now
6:13.
6:13. We'll re-adjourn at 6:23 at the table down there. So, yeah, 10-minute break. Thanks. All right, this is the City of Allentown Estates, Georgia, Board of Mayor Commissioners Work Session. It's May 27th, 2026. It's now 6:23. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have an agenda before us. Do I have a motion to adopt? Now, Lida and then Mike, all fair say aye. Aye. Okay, so, first item of discussion, 2026 preliminary tax digest and millage rate advertisement discussion. Mr. Manager.
Yes. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Okay. So, every year in May, we receive what the county tax, commissioner's office calls the, preliminary tax digest, which gives us a summary of the assessed value of all the property in the city. And I want to preface this by saying that at our next BOMC meeting, we will be updating the millage rate 101 presentation with the tentative decision that is made here tonight, so that we can explain how all of this works to the public, so that they can be informed and understand the process that we are about to go through. Okay, so first things first, in order to set a millage rate for the year, the city is required to hold 3 public hearings and to advertise what is considered to be known as the tentative millage rate. So when you advertise a tentative millage rate and then hold hearings around that rate, you can decrease that rate before you set it permanently. But if you decide to increase the rate from the tentative millage rate, you start the calendar of public hearings over again. The issue with doing that is that we have advertising requirements, which require notice of a public hearing 7 days prior to it actually happening. So theoretically, if you were to decide to increase the millage rate after advertising the tentative millage rate, we would have to very much act quickly to try and meet those advertising and public hearing requirements prior to setting the millage and delivering that rate to the county by their July 1st deadline. Okay, the advertising works like this. You have to advertise in what is called a legal arm of the county. There are 2 of those that exist in DeKalb. One is the Champion, which is the publication that we primarily use to advertise for public hearings or public notices in general. The other is the AJC. Now, the Champion requires a 7-day lead time in order to place an advertisement to run. And that schedule is Thursday to Thursday. So if you want an advertisement to run the following Thursday, you have to place the advertisement within the previous Thursday, which places more constraints on our ability to navigate this entire process by the conclusion of June. Okay. We could also go to the AJC if we needed to, which only requires a day as notice, but the AJC is cost prohibitive, significantly cost prohibitive. So if y'all decide to potentially increase the millage rate above the tentative millage rate that we advertise, that would be the approach that we would most likely use, because the time to submit and have that advertisement run is quite narrow, but you're paying an exorbitant amount of money for it. So laying that table, what do we need to do to figure out what that tentative millage rate is going to be? Well, the information to determine what that millage rate should be by you guys is the tax digest, which I previously said gives you the total assessed value of property, real estate property, personal property, motor vehicle ad valorem tax, and public utility tax. The digest that you have in your packet indicates an assessed value of property within the city at $507,348,876, which if using our last year's millage rate as the multiplier, projects an overall revenue generation of $4,845,182. Now, the entirety of that 4,845,182 is not general fund money. It also includes monies that would be generated into the TAD. Okay, all right. So knowing that, let's talk about the growth from last year's digest to this year's digest. We had about $87 million worth of value growth. 47 odd million of that is I may have this backwards. Let me check my spreadsheet. 40 million of that is new growth, meaning not revaluated growth, not revaluation, but new valuation. So we have 40 million of new valuation in the city. Okay, now the overwhelming majority of that new growth, which includes new development or substantial change to existing development, and revaluation is essentially you did nothing to your property and it's increasing or decreasing in value and gets revalued. This is new property or new development or substantial modifications which require new valuation. Okay, now most of that is commercial. Okay, then we've got about $47 million of revalue property. Okay, meaning property that has not been substantially modified or created or new development created that the county has determined needs a update in value, whether that is an increase in value or a decrease in value. The bulk of all of the $87 million of value increase, it is reflected in the digest in the commercial and or industrial lines. Are y'all following me? Okay. And about $13 million of growth comes from residential property. Okay. Now that does not necessarily mean homesteaded property. That just means residential property. So that means property, homes where people either reside, which is homestead, or homes that people rent out, which is a non-homesteaded property. Okay. So given the fact that the overwhelming majority of the growth in the value of this city is either commercial or industrial, the impact to revenue collection is certainly more intense or present in the TAD than in the general fund. Okay. The reason for that is we have, a massive new development that has come online that is included within the TAD boundaries, which is the Dale. We also have some valuation increases on the properties that are being assembled by the Avila Hedgewood team, okay? So our TAD collections are now outpacing what our projections to collect in the TAD were. So what does that mean, right? So that means that the speed at which those TAD revenues come in will increase as they going out. If y'all recall, the DDA has entered into a contract with the Avila Hedgewood team to provide for $5 million of TAD generated funding, right? Through 2031. However, it's set up to where if collections come in faster than that 2031, right? Let's just say all of that $5 million comes in by 2028. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if it did, those monies would be distributed to the developer per that agreement for the purposes of constructing that public infrastructure that we have discussed. And then any additional TAD revenues that are generated beyond those commitments. And remember, there's one other commitment from the TAD to the city for the match of the Transportation Alternatives Grant, which is going to pay for our shared street concept in the downtown. What it means is that if the TAD continues to grow like this and funds come in more quickly than expected, we will have, or the DDA will have the ability to expend those TAD funds elsewhere. For the general fund, interestingly enough, and I want to thank Commissioner Stedman for making a pretty simple spreadsheet that's easy to follow that we can distribute to you guys later. I don't have copies, but for the general fund, the revenue projections from this digest based on our existing millage rate pretty much identically match up with what our budget is, right? So if we left the millage rate at 955 with this digest, we would not need to amend most likely not need to amend the budget mid-year to reflect a change in the expected revenue generated, okay? So that being said, I think it's important to know the following things before we start discussing the tentative millage rate, which is one, the existing millage rate with this digest matches pretty much exactly what our budget is. So kudos to Brittany for once again nailing that. She's online. We can all say, yay, Brittany.
Yeah.
She's very good at the forecasting. But also things that we need to consider are the following. Remember, starting this year is what is called the base year for the new legislation that was signed into law that restricts valuation increases on an annual basis for homesteaded properties, right? And we have a lot of homesteaded properties. And the cap on that year-to-year increase, unless that property is transacted or significantly modified, is the rate of inflation, okay? But it doesn't mean that all of our homesteaded properties will increase by the rate of inflation. It's all market driven. So what we've seen over the past, I don't know, 7 years really, is a real hot housing market in Avondale Estates, where values were increasing because sale prices were increasing, the market was hot, and our digest grew as a result. This year, that is not the trend in the residential area. We have about a quarter of residential properties that have increased in value, or a third of residential properties that have increased in value, a third of residential properties that have stayed at the same value, and about a third of residential properties that have decreased in value. So we need to keep that in mind as we are trying to project revenue takes for future years and how the millage needs to be set because of that political climate. And you know, I say that because we all know, we've talked about this before, like once you lower a millage rate, it's a lot more difficult to increase the millage rate to cover any maybe poor forecast or bad mistake that you. The other criteria that I think is incredibly important for us, which leads me to my recommendation that I will deliver in the next 2 minutes, is that we have a gubernatorial election this fall. And both of the Republican candidates who are in the runoff for the Republican Party nomination have made it a part of their platform to further impact the amount of property tax that can be collected either for further homesteaded valuation restrictions or a phase out of property taxes altogether. You know, those details have not necessarily been discussed at length because, you know, they're running for office. However, it is a significant criteria that we need to consider because, you know, we know Georgia's, you know, a toss-up state. So there is a reality that is very much in play whereby one of those two men is elected governor and our ability to generate revenue from property taxes is further impacted. Given all of that stuff, my recommendation is to advertise the tentative millage rate at the same millage rate that we've had, the 9.55. Of course, as we get through this process, as I mentioned earlier, y'all will have the ability to decrease that millage rate potentially without any disruption to the procedure that we have to follow. Or if you decide to increase from that tentative millage rate, we will have to utilize the AJC to speed up that process and be able to fit it within the calendar. Tomorrow is Thursday, and if y'all recall, Thursday is a day that you submit an ad to the champion. So let's just say we set that tentative millage rate, you know, just discussing it. We send that ad to the champion tomorrow. It runs the following Thursday, which is June the 4th. And then we are well in the clear for being able to have all of our hearings in time to make the final decision that you need to make to set the millage rate before the end of June. If we wait any longer, let's just say we did not agree on a tentative millage rate tonight, and we just kind of keep kicking that around until our next meeting on June the 10th, and we submit that advertisement on the 11th. It doesn't run till the 18th. Now we can't hold a public hearing until the 25th. So our calendar that we've already kind of got established will no longer hold. So that's why it's important for us to kind of just agree. Again, this tentative millage rate does not lock you into anything. It's just for advertising purposes. I also do want to say that we had more new percentage of our digest, far more new growth than any other city in DeKalb County, which is a testament to our economic development plan and our ability to execute that. So I think kudos to everybody. God will have. Did you hear that, Peters? Oh, he left. Oh, bummer. Okay, good. That's my spiel. You know, any questions y'all have, feel free to ask them. I'll be happy to answer. Y'all can deliberate amongst yourselves, but that's my advice.
So you're saying we're gonna advertise the 9.55?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Correct.
That allows us to go lower but not higher without restarting.
Correct. That procedurally, yes. Correct.
This is your first time to this rodeo.
I'm up to speed.
Okay. We have not set all the meetings for June.
Yes, I think we
Or
have.
have we?
I sent the schedule.
Kind of agreed with that.
Yep.
And
Considerate of your absence. Yes.
And I mean, I'm fine with it. You give them what you said, the political uncertainty. It's good. I can't imagine. Every time I see those commercials, I'm like, what do you think half the cities in Georgia are gonna do? Just insult them? How's that work? That's a whole discussion. The notion of getting rid of property taxes. I don't like it either, but. I can see it's well, counties, in schools. Okay, no schools. Awesome.
And one thing I do want to mention is that, both Commissioner Stedman's spreadsheet and what we were theorizing show the same thing, which is a projected 3% reduction in value to, assessed value of properties going into the general fund. And a 98.5% collection rate, which has been our pattern. So, that puts us, I mean, smack dab aligned with what we projected to receive. So,
Okay.
that 955 number gives us exactly what we've got in the budget, which I think is important for you to know. So if we adjust it lower, we will have to amend the budget to amend our revenue collections.
This number doesn't really take into account deals and things like that.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's the 3% reduction is due to appeals.
Which we
That'll
anticipate,
be less since we had some properties go down in value.
I think so, that,
Yeah.
Like 2/3, well, 1/3 go down, 1/3 stay the same. And really.
so that's why, I agree with Commissioner Stedman's analysis here. So in some years, we calculate that reduction as a 5% reduction. Given the comparative valuations from last year to this year, I think the 3% is.
Well, if you
Pretty
look at the
reflective.
last 3 years, see, it was 2.15, then 3.6, then 2.8. So 3 seems a good number to pick based on that history. You know, I think it's so.
You okay?
Yeah.
All right. I think we're all fine with that.
Yeah,
Being advertised, it's just advertised over.
that's right. And we will be discussing this at every meeting we hold, from now until, the date at which y'all consider the military district.
Okay. All right, item number 4, centennial related activities budget.
Yes, okay, so, okay, let me pull this item up so I can give it home. All right, so we have a centennial celebration coming up, which will be spread over a 3-year period beginning this August. So we have, the committee has agreed to 4 events, big events, meaning city-sponsored events, to commemorate 4 different milestones in the process of the creation of the city. And the first of those milestones is this August. And as such, we need to appropriate monies for that activity and subsequent activities that we need to happen in order to prepare for this August's event and for the remainder of the centennial calendar. So in 27 and in 28, we can build that activity into the budget. But for 26, we are going to ask you guys to appropriate, essentially amend the budget to appropriate monies for the purposes of carrying out the centennial related activities the remainder of this calendar year. So we have provided you with a budget for those activities for the remainder of this year. The main expenditure we are requesting appropriation for is the Centennial Kickoff Gala, which is going to be the largest and most costly of the four centennial related events. We have a budget, the committee has developed a budget for that event of $24,000. It's a significant event. It will also be ticketed. And we are also going to be offering what you would consider to be a sponsorship package to individuals and businesses to help us offset these costs. So I do want to stress that the expenditures that we're going to ask you to appropriate funding for as contained in this budget will be offset in partiality by the ticket sales and the sponsorship sales. The remainder of the activities we're asking for you guys to appropriate funds for are essentially kind of the merch and communication materials that we need for the purposes of executing these activities. So you'll see streetscape and signage and marketing and communication and community engagement items here. That's what I'm talking about there. The other is that the committee has agreed tentatively on providing funds, lesser amount of funds for 6 approved community-led events that are centennial related. 2 of which will be awarded in 26 and 4 of which will be awarded in 27 and are not contained in this budget. So the 4,000 for that is because we are going to approve partial funding of community generated events in addition to the large city sponsored events that are being organized by the Centennial Organizing. Make sense? Yeah. So what we'll do is we will have a budget amendment that we will create and bring to you guys to reflect this appropriation into it.
Of 5150?
Of 51,500, yes.
Is there any chance there might be some savings in our budget that might cover this?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I just want to make sure the appropriations there, just,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. But as always, we see expenditure savings throughout the year. And of course, monies generated from tickets and sponsorships will also help to offset this from a revenue standpoint. So I think the impact on the budget is going to be real minimal. But for the sake of making sure the monies are available, we have to go through that process.
So this is something we will vote on next meeting.
We'll begin the ordinance process.
So that's 2.
Much you wanna.
You could do that too. You could go to unanimous consent to appropriate those monies. Because it'll just be,
You're gonna bring it anyway. We can toss it out there. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
that's right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we will read this, I guess, first time, maybe
Correct.
with the option already. Consent.
And it'll be a singular amendment to the budget, which will be a line item that says centennial related activity.
I think that's all. Anything. The only question I had is about the kickoff. Yeah,
Mhm.
we're gonna, like, the ticket sales aren't gonna cover the whole thing. No.
Well,
So
here's the
only thing I worry about is, like, you know, expending city money for an event that's not open to every,
It is open, but it's
But they have to buy a
limited in
ticket.
numbers,
you
yeah,
have to buy a ticket.
yeah.
That's right. But it is open to anyone.
Open to anyone that buys a ticket. So
Correct.
how much are the tickets?
Well, we're still working that out. Now,
Like, I just, you see what I'm saying? It's like hard to expend city money for an event that that's celebrating the city that isn't, you know, not necessarily open to anybody, because not everybody might not have the dough to spend on the ticket.
And then the capacity of the
And
space.
the capacity of the space, we're spending city money on it,
mhm.
like.
Well, it's a city event.
it's a city event. It's not, like, I consider a city event, but we can wind down where you show up, you can go, you can have a good time. Whereas this is. Yes, you can come as long as you buy the ticket. And I don't know how much that ticket's $5.
It is not.
I know it's not. If the ticket's $5, I'd be like, hey, most folks could probably spread about $5 if they want to come. If the ticket's $100, $150, or $50, or $75, that's gonna be a tougher ask.
So here, let
Yeah.
me explain it this way.
Okay.
Hear what you're saying. This event acts as the fundraiser for all of the centennial related activities. So at the end of the centennial related activities, we're hoping to have a complete offset of the cost to run the events, with monies left over potentially to go toward a legacy project, which would be a permanent installation somewhere in the city. So yes, there is an initial outlay, but the monies coming back go to offset that cost and provide for a permanent installation. Otherwise, we can't have the event because there's no way to produce it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see it, it's just a little bit of a.
Sure. So at the end of the day, we're hoping that, you know, after all of the centennial activities are done, the monies raised offset the cost of production and are able to offset some of the cost of the legacy project, so that the taxpayer is not going, the taxpayer dollars are not being spent in vain, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's coming back. Let's give us kind of.
Yeah, I see your point. Oh, that's. All good? Item number 5, discussion of preliminary plat applications for Avila Bentonwood project.
Yes, so, all right. As I was trying to suggest earlier, this is, you know, part of the procedure the developer has to go through before they can obtain permits to construct their development. The rationale or the reason for this is because the land that will be involved in the development of this project has to be assembled and then subdivided in order to create new lots. And so this process shows to you the tentative, essentially, plan for subdivision to create those lots. Okay. It our code has has subdivision requirements, and this is part of it. So the board has to approve the preliminary plan for subdividing those lots. And then we'll also have to come back and approve the final plat or the final subdivision before the developer can proceed to obtaining the permits for construction. Now, they also have to go through a lot of other steps with agencies that are not us, like the county, to make sure that, they have approval from the fire marshal for fire clearance, so that they have, water and sewer hookups, those types of things. So this is kind of the first step in the non-zoning decision process of getting to develop this project. So what you have before you, and we can kind of take these as two things if you want, combine them, is the preliminary plat for subdivision from both Avila and Hedgewood. And what you'll notice is that the entire Oak site is had a preliminary plat submission, but not the entire Maple site. The only part of the Maple site that y'all are considering for approval of a preliminary plat is the Edgewood piece of the Maple site. That is because the Avila piece of the Maple site will be a later phase and may not even require any subdivision. So, if you were confused about the acreage of the Maple submission and looked at the map and saw that it was just the Hedgewood piece and wondering where the Avila piece was, that's why. Also, I want to reiterate to you guys as we move through this process what I said during the public hearing, before the public hearing, which is we don't want to put ourselves in a adverse legal position by denying the preliminary plat submission for reasons other than the reasons that I mentioned at the top, which are, does the submission follow the zoning code and the variances that were previously granted from the zoning code? Or does the submission create a hardship for the city in terms of the infrastructure that is being proposed on the site? And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about, you know, roads, sidewalks, paths, stormwater detention, that kind of stuff. Open it up to questions. They're probably going to be better answered by Stephen and Shannon than they would be by me, but that's the introduction.
I have a question. So I can see it better on the shared streets map right here. And, okay. You know, Washington was kind of meant to be a through street, you know, Franklin, that didn't work out in Washington. So what I find awkward is where Perry breaks up and then Washington continues. I don't understand why, and then there's new streets.
I'm coming over so I can understand what you're saying.
Okay,
Sometimes I follow that.
okay, so they've got homes here and here, right? So what I don't understand is instead of this, and this, why couldn't we do that? Because these are existing streets, is that right?
Yeah, but I think there's two reasons why that's not, why this may not be the, so the what Commissioner Stedman is noting is that there's a little jog, there's a jog in the site plan, and they're showing a path that would be aligned directly through. And like if you took a straight line and did that, would, when you get to
It's hard to say.
yeah, when you get to, what is that?
This is Perry and this is Franklin.
But it jogs around as if
I can see that.
and so, but it's a combination of things. So yeah, you're looking here. So there's a
Yeah.
path that comes through here, and she's asking, why not put a road? Some of that is the way that. She's asking, why didn't it go straight through?
Oh, I see what you're saying, because it's an existing condition.
Well, it is an existing condition, and there are topo issues as well as the way that the zoning was approved was to do the pathways. What I would offer is, there are some advantages. I mean, I think we're looking for creating a way for people to get through downtown, but not necessarily to race through downtown. So this provides that kind of access. And then pathways provide, you know, an alternative on how you access through if you're bike or walking. So that was, and that's just the way, I mean, that's the site plan that we approved as part of the zoning code.
Okay, so that was kind of a variance that y'all granted.
No, because those roads are an existing condition, so they don't have to build it. They're not required to build a new road through there because the condition already exists.
Well, and I agree with the logic there that it's more conducive to the neighborhood feel and function of it if you don't have a road blasting through it. And, you know, connectivity and access are still, I mean, they're approved, I think it's not totally what we envisioned, but neither was what Edgewood proposed. And I think it kind of reminds, but territory a little bit. It's more conducive to having a cohesive, safe feeling neighborhood, you know, clustered housing like it is. So we always thought about these streets going straight through, but
Not that just,
it just doesn't work.
I mean, sometimes it's topos or several. reasons.
Now,
Go to any city in the world.
now those streets will be improved to the standard as outlined in our zoning code. So,
With hot-
right, so, when you're developing and, adjacent to the right of way, there is that requirement that kicks in to improve the standard of the street if it is what we consider to be substandard. And most of our downtown roads are currently substandard, to the prescription of the standard that now exists in our zoning code.
So these new streets, are they gonna be city owned or they will?
The new streets,
Yeah, the
yes.
ones that say new
Yeah, they're
streets,
public,
ABC.
correct. And in fact, the next item, we'll talk about kind of, how some of that will materialize.
I can add just a little bit on that. It's like, so the preliminary plat is a plan. The final plat is a survey of what was actually done in terms of the development, not the vertical, but the infrastructure, which includes the roads. So at that point, when they get that done, then the city's building official goes and looks at it, confirms that the road is the right asphalt, the right width, right sidewalk, etc. And if all that looks good, then the city accepts or approves the final plat. That gets recorded, and that's how the public infrastructure becomes officially dedicated to the city, and then our property and our responsibility.
So what is the next action for item number 5? Or is that kind of what 6 is about? No, it's not.
So now, okay, 6 is different.
Okay, so what's the next action on 5?
The next action on, on 5, would be, we are going to bring it back to you at our next regular meeting, for adoption. Yeah. That's correct.
We will vote on item number 5 next meeting. Okay. Everybody good on that one? Okay. All right. So item number 6.
Yes. All right, so Stephen, you've been knee deep in this one, so you want to just do?
Sure, this is the property exchange.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so
Want this, are you not?
okay. All right, we have talked about aspects of this before. There was formerly a public street known as Franklin Street / Potter Ave, running east-west in the downtown. We abandoned it, so currently that is some property. It's not officially legally a public street, it's just some property that the city owns. Okay, so that's, we'll call that area 1. And we're following up on that. After we abandon the property, abandon the road aspect, we now have some property. The city, under state law, has the ability to dispose of the property, which means to transfer it to private ownership. There's various ways that that can happen, including hiring a real estate agent or holding a public auction. But first, you as a city are to give the original owner of the property the opportunity to buy it back. If that is transpiring within, I think, 20 years of the city acquiring the property, then the law assumes that you know who the owner was. If not, you may not, which we don't, because that street's been here longer than we have. So
That part of Franklin Street, we don't know about, the city didn't know.
No, the city did own it.
Oh.
The question is like, so take a imaginary situation where these laws are mostly written for the Department of Transportation. So in this hypothetical, GDOT is building a highway and it goes through Farmer Jones's rural property. If for some reason they decide to close that property, well, they've got the records, like we went and used eminent domain on Farmer Jones, and now it's his chance to get this back. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So we don't know who the city acquired this from way back whenever that road was built, which we don't even know when. What we do know is who owns the abutting properties now. So we sent out letters to those property owners. There's 4 of them. They are the folks that own property to the north and the south of this road because it is an east-west road. So we offered each of those property owners, are you interested in acquiring this property for fair market value? We received back 3 responses that said we've assigned that right to Avalon's development. And a response from Avalon that said we would like to acquire it, but rather than buying it, we propose to do a property exchange with you. Okay, so Georgia law allows, this is all ways that the city can do a transaction without having a public auction, basically. And one of those ways is to transact with the abutting owners of abandoned road property. The requirements are essentially that the city have an appraisal of the property that it's getting and the property that it's giving. And what we are receiving is at least as valuable as what we are giving to the private owner. So Avila has proposed to the city to exchange a 2-for-1 exchange, where the city would give up primarily the abandoned Franklin that we just talked about. Secondly, a little area, like 1/10 of an acre, I think, of what is called remnant property that was not used when we built the new and improved Washington and Lake Street in connection with building out the town green. So there's just a little bit of area at that corner, the northeast corner of Lake and Washington, which is just a sliver of property between the public streets and property that Avila already owns. There's nothing that can be done with that property by itself because it's tiny and crescent shaped. So there's another state statute that says the city can dispose of remnant properties that couldn't be built on by themselves by selling it to the or transacting with the neighbor, if that'll be convenient for the development of the city. Okay, so we've got 2 city properties that meet these state law criteria to essentially do a private transaction rather than a public auction. Now, so what is Avila offering in exchange rather than money? They are offering a 7/10 of an acre of property that is located at the low point of the downtown on the concrete wasteland, is what I call it, the former Georgia Duck and Cordage. That's where the water for the whole from out at that street to there tends to go because of the topo. And the city is in need of such a area to detain or retain stormwater to alleviate flooding in the downtown. So Avila obtained the surveys from CB Richard Ellis, which, excuse me, appraisals, not surveys. which is a very reputable appraisal group. And the numbers are in the resolution, but essentially what they're offering us is worth like 180% of what we would be getting. Pretty much covered it.
Yes, and we're also if y'all recall, some of the funding that the DDA has pledged to the development group is to assist with the construction of the stormwater detention. And so why is this of interest to us and not something that they can do? Because they have agreed to build it so that it detains stormwater that exists outside of their property areas. So they're detaining stormwater on their property for us that they wouldn't otherwise have to detain. And so that's why we want the property itself so that we can be in control of its maintenance, so that we can guarantee that it will continue to detain the water we need it to detain, which is outside of the project area and not their responsibility.
Right. We wouldn't, otherwise we wouldn't have the legal right to put our water on that property.
So, I mean, for a development this size, don't they have some stormwater, retention, requirements?
Oh, yeah. So they're
This is bigger than.
correct. So they're not only detaining their required stormwater, but also a whole bunch of other stormwater that's coming from property that is not.
So is it, and is this is what we're talking about?
Yes, yeah, turn it around. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, they're gonna build this.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look like an amenity.
Yep.
And the DDA is putting 780,000 into this,
I think it's 670.
670,000. And it's gonna take stormwater runoff from Laredo.
It's gonna, no, the opposite way. So it's the low point, right?
So it's gonna come from this direction.
It's coming from, it's
Okay.
all of the, it's pretty much all of the downtown's water flows to that.
Well, an awful lot.
Yeah, an awful lot.
From 278 towards water tracks. So. We'd actually, I mean, we've been talking about this notion of overbuilding their retention for our use for years. And they have always been a. So this is really, yeah, it was just something we kind of hung out there and they're like, no problem with that. Well, this is just how we're actually finally nitty gritty working it out. And so it's kind of
What's this little squiggly line here? 2 lines. It's a path. Is it gonna be, is it gonna be like a bridge?
not anymore.
Isn't that just topos? That's it.
I think it's a boardwalk.
Is it? Really? Okay, I just thought it was some remnant, well, it's a boardwalk to go over that, but
Okay.
it might just be some remnant lines they didn't delete.
So the thing I think we need to keep in mind is, again, the value of the land they're proposing to swap with us is 180% of the value of the land that we are swapping to them. And we get stormwater detention, and it's as an amenity, it's not an eyesore, so they can use it to sell homes, which is of import to them, and why they have agreed to detain water outside of the project.
Do we know how much the whole thing is gonna cost to do?
The whole stormwater? No, I mean, they're gonna have to, do their construction.
And some aspects of that are still being engineered.
Yeah, I mean, we've got an idea. It's pretty much halvesies. If you will, so, given the fact that half the water is going to be ours.
So we will take over maintenance of it, so we'll have to maintain it.
Not necessarily. We're, since it's ours, that gives us a maintenance right. So that we can always guarantee that it is not closed off to collecting the stormwater that is off their project site.
Okay, but what if it needs, you know, repairs or whatever kind of maintenance for the.
We will have the right to do, we will have the right to do that on our own without.
But
interference.
But we have to pay for that. We couldn't, they wouldn't have to pay.
Well, it just depends on the scenario.
Okay.
The reason for us owning it is so that we retain that right to do whatever we need to do to ensure that the water we need to go into it continues to go.
And that's consistent with all our stormwater
Yeah.
facilities throughout. the city.
Yeah,
So, you know my question, so this is something that we will vote on next meeting,
correct.
and this is a one vote.
Yep.
So,
Not an
it's
ordinance.
just a resolution. So, okay. All good on the items in the work session? Okay.
Can we just talk about the role of PAZB, the process that,
Yeah,
as you mentioned, you,
yeah,
public comment previously, there's public comment now. There was public comment a week ago and
yes.
you.
So our zoning code calls for the PAZB to hear the matter themselves, which they did last week, and to provide a, non-binding recommendation to you guys. That recommendation is contained in your materials. They recommended approval of the plat submissions.
And before public comment
Yes,
during this.
correct.
Or
Well, there's even more. So you had essentially comment at the PAZB, comment tonight at the public hearing, comment tonight after this, comment again at the regular meeting prior to, yeah, so you're right. Yeah, okay. Yes,
say that?
yeah, you're right.
All right, all good?
Yeah.
All right. Public comment. Any online?
None.
Right, going once? Twice? All right. Bring it back. Thank you all for being here this evening. We do appreciate it. And, have a good evening. Then I'll motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.